Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
And today we will be playing another part of Part 5 of Bernard's Auto RPG, Skies of Arcadia, covering the next part. I really should update my notes completely and not just the fun parts at the end. But before we get started on all of that, how was everyone's week?
Well, it's been a bit more than a week. Things keep happening. But I have a feeling that we're gonna get on a good recording schedule again, starting now.
Yeah,
maybe starting sometime next month. We'll see. But my past couple of weeks has been weird. So I mentioned before I'm getting laid off of my job. That is my last day is June 30th. So that'll be fun. I was last month, because I found out about it at the beginning of May. Last month, I was sort of in a panic thinking, I don't have any marketable skills. What am I going to do? So I was just looking at just any way to get a skill. And I saw Austin Community College had a HVAC program that was
a good skill to learn.
Yeah, and it was starting in a few days, and it was cheap. So I was like, what the hell, I'll sign up for it. So that's one reason I've had some trouble getting around to doing RPG Book Club stuff, because I've been doing that class. For a few reasons, I'm not so sure I want to actually go into HVAC, make a career out of it, do it for the rest of my life. But it's been really interesting anyway. But I've been looking at other things as well. And I ended up applying to a few pest control companies. And I actually have a ride along with one of them on Monday to see if I can take it. See if I can make it in that dog-eat-dog world. So, yeah, it's been a weird time for me.
Yeah. It has also been a very weird time for me.
Yes.
So, as famously stated on like episode 1 or 2 of this podcast, my mom has Alzheimer's and has for a hot minute. And the last couple of weeks, she slipped into a coma at one point, and we were all pretty much certain that she was going to go. She then stupidly woke up on Wednesday and has been like fine, and everything's been like she's been getting better, and like, but I wish she would let go and have peace and not just be a vegetable. But yeah, last week we canceled because I thought I might need to be going into Houston, but now I'm not headed into Houston and haven't been to Houston yet, so who knows. But yeah, things are weird. But the bright side of all of that has nothing to do with any of that, so it's really not the bright side. But we were approved for our apartment that we really, really want, which is over on like a walkable part of the city. It's like above a grocery store and also next door to a better, more different grocery store, and has central air, which we were just talking about. I don't have here at this place, but it has central air, has a private walk up, but is not, so it's a hotel apartment and not a motel apartment, which
Yeah.
is the first time I've ever had one of those, which is super exciting. And it has covered parking, which is big when it snows like it does up here. And
Also big when it hails like it does down here.
yeah. And it's just going to be great and fantastic. And the only thing that sucks is its security deposit is gigantic. So all of the debt that I just got us out of a couple of weeks ago, probably going to be back in it again to the tune of $1,300 to be able to pay the security deposit, which thankfully is a lot less than the $7,000 we were in debt, but it still sucks to have to spend money that I don't want to spend.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other super cool thing is you may or may not have heard of Temu. They are not sponsoring this podcast. But they were sponsoring a different podcast I was listening to, and when I went to check them out, they were like, "Hey, if you spam all of your friends and be kind of insufferable for 24 hours, we'll send you an Anbernic RG353V." And I was like, "I have enough friends that I can annoy, and I also have enough devices myself with separate email addresses that I can spam myself." And so I now have a Anbernic RG353V, and it's not as powerful as the Steam Deck, but it is small and it does fit in my pocket.
Oh,
And
it looks like a little Game Boy.
Yeah, it's a little Game Boy. And it's going to be the JRPG canon machine. It can play almost everything that's on my backlog right now. And so instead of scrolling through TikTok or Twitter or whatever it is that the youngins do, I now will have a device in the same pocket with much more interesting things to do. And so I'll start burning through the canons of JRPGs whenever I have a little bit of time here and there. And I'm excited for that.
The Amazon picture has on the screen some sort of generic racing game with the main character in the front looks suspiciously like Mega Man and Bomberman had a baby.
Brilliant. That's exactly the vibes I want.
That's the game you're going to be playing?
Yeah. Mega Bomber coming up on... Oh, wow.
The ship name is the Blue Bomber.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so things are...
On the other colors, they just straight up have Kirby and Link.
That's awesome. That racing game, I think, is a real game.
Probably.
It looks vaguely familiar, but
it looks like a mobile game.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a really cool little thing. That picture says it comes with 4,000 games. There were definitely 18,000 games on here, but it's a horrible, crappy ROM library, and I just wiped it to get a free SD card. But yeah, what about you, Trish?
Well, I'm still in that weird limbo time between moves. I do have an exact move date for my move over to Massachusetts. That's going to be in a little over 3 weeks. I'm very excited for that. In the meantime, things have been good. I've been reading my parents' Stormlight Archive. We're 150 pages into Way of Kings.
Nice.
Enjoying Girl Genius with a friend of mine. Been playing Tears of the Kingdom. I just actually either last week or the week before, I did the last session of a D&D game. Well, not the last session. It's going on break, but I've been running it for a year and a half or so, maybe 2 years. I can't actually remember exactly how long at this point, but it's been a while. And the fact I'm taking a break from that, it feels good. I feel like it ended on a really good note.
Nice.
We're thinking if we go back to it, we'll go back to it with like a little time skip. To take over its time slot, I just ran a session 0 today. for a Masks game, and I'm super excited to be running that. As someone who's been like playing, just dipping my toes into Powered by the Apocalypse tabletop RPG systems, that whole family. Monster of the Week has been interesting. I'm enjoying it mostly because I'm enjoying the characters everyone else is making and the story that we're creating together. But like reading Masks is just such a different vibe, and I'm very excited for it. If you're not aware, Masks is specifically a tabletop RPG system for trying to play a superhero game, specifically one that's very Teen Titans, Runaways, Young Avengers-esque. And compared to Monster of the Week, there's a lot more playing around with the base concepts of Powered by the Apocalypse. There's a lot more additions to the mechanics to reflavor things. Also has easily my favorite kind of quote-unquote health system of any tabletop RPG I've ever seen. Instead of just like an HP thing or the wounds they use in Monster of the Week, there are conditions which are different things like being angry, being scared, being insecure. And so when you would mark conditions, they have a tangible effect on some of your rolls, different ones for each of them, but they also, should be influencing how you're playing your character. And there are ways to clear it, such as one of the other party members could try to comfort you and try to bring you out of that. Or you could do it by yourself, which is usually, if you're angry, you can clear it by hurting someone or smashing something. And I just think that it's a really flavorful system. I'm excited to get to work with it. We're setting it in a DC universe, but a DC universe that hasn't had all the dumb parts of it. Not dumb. A lot of dumb stuff still. I love DC being dumb, but the really bad stuff, not in it. And I wasn't expecting this, but the players have all just decided that the dean of their university is John Constantine. So I'm going to be having to roleplay as John Constantine probably fairly regularly, and I really look forward to that. That's going to be really fun. He's going to hate it so much.
That reminded me of two things. One thing is for you, Trish. Speaking of Tears of the Kingdom and Powered by the Apocalypse, Critical Role did a one-shot based in Tears of the Kingdom's Hyrule using a Powered by the Apocalypse system that Nintendo Treehouse came up with themselves. So a lot of the things are either Powered by the Apocalypse or 100% taken from Tears of the Kingdom. Like instead of HP, you have hearts. Instead of like actions per turn, you have stamina that you can do. Your attacks just deal damage, but everything is defense, because in Tears of the Kingdom you defend attacks more than you do other things, and it's very, 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 very cool. I wish they would drop a PDF of the rules that they made, but they haven't yet. But super duper cool.
I was linked to this earlier today. It looks wonderful. They also have Emily Axford.
Yeah,
and
if I've been wanting someone to unleash the horror that is Emily Axford's RP style onto Matt Mercer for so long, and within seconds of them starting, I was like, this was a good choice. I'm so glad I've been wanting this. But
yeah, I really want to see it. Also, besides Emily Axford, also Omar Najan is there, and I also love him as a player. I've also seen the characters they made, and two of them are playing Rito, and they look great. I love the art for their characters.
Yeah, it's a real good time. I'm only like 2 hours into the 5-hour thing, so I haven't listened to all of it, but so far it's really, really good. The other thing is for you, Bernard. One of my other podcasts, Worlds Beyond Number, Brendan Lee Mulligan's podcast, they're doing a one shot based on, I can't remember what it is, but it's another single paragraph RPG, like Lasers and Feelings. And in that one, you only have one skill at the beginning of the game, and it's do something, and you have a 1 in that skill. Every time you do something and you roll a 6, you then get a more specific version of that skill that you then will have a +2 on. So if so if I'm trying to, the example they use is I try to tie my shoes. If I roll a 6, I now have a +1 in do something and a +2 in tie your shoes, and you can advance farther along that way. And I don't remember exactly but it has levels of success like Powered by the Apocalypse and other things like that. But it's a 1d6 system that was very much like Lasers and Feelings, and it sounds like it's going to be fantastic. I meant to.
It would be really nice if you could tell me what it's called.
Yeah, I will definitely send that over to you the moment I find it. I will be frantically Googling when I can stop talking, and you can start talking about Skies of Arcadia.
Okay.
So we'll listen to some music and then do that. So Bernard, what's up today?
Well, with the Iron Net gone, our heroes can set sail for the North Ocean, where they'll find previously inaccessible value in lands and adventure. On the way, they're attacked by a black pirate named Gordo. His thing is that he's fat and likes food. Same. Also, yes. After our heroes kick his ass, Gordo's like, "Hey, wait, old guy, are you Drachma, that sailor who's hunting the Arkwell Rocknum to avenge his son?" Drachma gets pissed off and tells Gordo to beat it. Anyway, our heroes reach Value in airspace. Eventually, they find a Stonehenge-looking place with a giant metal seal on the ground. Fina says that beneath the seal is the Maw of Tartus, a series of caverns where the yellow moon crystal and the yellow gigas rest. She says the Sylvites built the seal after the Rains of Destruction to contain the moon crystal and everything. Sorry, I got distracted because Siri thought I was talking to it. The little bubble came up and I was like, what? No. As our heroes consider the impenetrable seal and ponder their next move, some Valuan soldiers show up and attack. Our heroes quickly own the Valuan soldiers and interrogate one after the battle. Ica asks how they can get through the seal. The soldier says Valua hasn't been able to figure out a way past the seal, but they aren't concerned with the yellow moon crystal right now because it's already in Valua and safe from our heroes. Vice asks why they've encountered so few soldiers and ships as they've traveled through Valua. The soldier says that's because they're preparing for a raid on Nasarad, the capital of Nasir. And one of the admirals is hunting a giant arc whale, which destroyed some of their ships recently. Drachma is very interested to hear that Rocknum's probably in the area. He says he's been following this dang polycule around looking for moon crystals all this time, and now it's time for them to follow him. Vice agrees to help Drachma hunt down Rocknum. Drachma says that now that he has the harpoon cannon, he's going to kill Rocknum or die trying. Drachma orders our heroes to hide the Little Jack in a nearby canyon and rest while they wait for the fog that Rocknum emits to roll in. That night, Vice can't sleep, so he takes a walk around the ship. He finds Drachma on the deck, holding a small box. Vice asks what it is. Drachma hands it to him, and he opens it. It's full of feathers. Drachma says his son used to collect feathers. He used to have a son about Vice's age. Long ago, Drachma ran a fishing boat in the North Ocean, and his son would always come with him. His name was Jack. He was a small guy, so the sailors called him Little Jack. Then one day, Rocknum appeared. They didn't know how powerful he was, so they tried to fight him. Drachma was the only one who survived. He needs to kill Rocknum to avenge his crew and his son. Also, Sam I got distracted again because Sam posted in the host chat, and y'all will want to know this as well since we don't want to leave you hanging. The RPG he was talking about earlier is called Roll for Shoes.
Yes. You can find info on rollforshoes.com.
Wonderful. Thank you for answering that burning question we all had.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Then fog starts rolling in. Rocknum is here. And it's being pursued by Valuan ships. Vice asks who the flagship belongs to. Drachma says that while they were in Valua, he heard rumors that the Armada changed its chain of command. He says that must be Ramirez's ship. Ramirez was Galcian's vice captain and the most feared officer in the Armada. Galcian didn't ask Teodora about promoting Ramirez until right before we left Valua, so I don't see how Drachma heard about this. But whatever. Fina seems conspicuously concerned. Drachma orders Vice to attack the Valuan ships first, so they don't kill Rackham before he can. The Little Jack faces off against a Valuan gunboat and wins. They then get a clear shot at Rackham and fire the harpoon cannon. It lodges in Rocknum's side, but then Ramirez's ship starts firing on the Little Jack. The Little Jack catches fire. Vice says they have to abandon ship. Drachma says no, he's waited for too long, and he may never get another chance. Vice tells Drachma they need to get to the lifeboats, and that as long as he's alive, he'll always have another chance. Our heroes run down to the two lifeboats. Fina and Ica hop in one, and Vice hops in the other. Drachma pushes the girl's lifeboat into the sky. But then, instead of getting in the other lifeboat, he pushes it out. He pushes it out. I said that weird. He pushes it out. Our heroes are left wondering why Drachma decided to stay with the ship. Ramirez starts firing on the lifeboats. Both are hit and careen away from each other. Vice wakes up on a small island, and it's kind of hilarious. It starts like panning from water to Vice face down on a beach, which is, a very typical scene of someone getting washed up on a shore. But then you're like, wait, there aren't shores in this game? And it turns out he's on a small island, but there's a little pond, and he, I guess, fell in the water, then floated onto the shore of the pond.
It's very good.
Anyway, the music here is Dragon Quest as heck. Vice looks around and finds the island is uninhabited. There was someone here before, however. He finds a skeleton in sailor's clothes. Its collar has Gonzales embroidered into it, so Vice assumes that's his name and not like a fashion brand. Vice rifles through the dead guy's pockets and finds half a map. He takes it. He takes shelter in a cave and rests, wondering where Ica and Fina are. We cut to what looks like some sort of cheesy love hotel room. Ica and Fina are cuddled up in bed together.
In a bed with hearts everywhere.
Yes. And I feel like in most JRPGs, they'd be like, whoa, what are we doing in bed together? But they just completely take it in stride.
Well, I mean, I think the simple answer is it's not the first time it's happened.
Yes. Anyway, they wake up and wonder where the heck they are and how they ended up here. Fina wonders where Vice and Drachma are. Ica puts on a brave face and says they must be fine. They're both too stubborn to die that easily. But who saved them? A ridiculous woman enters the hotel room and does a fucking twirl as she introduces herself as Clara, an air pirate. She says they're lucky she found their lifeboat and asks what their story is. Ica and Fina explain what happened. Clara is touched by their tale of polyamorous adventure. She says they've got to have faith in their man. She very specifically talks about Vice as if he is the boyfriend of both girls, not just one of them.
Mm-hmm.
She does, and it's wonderful.
She tells the girls that they'll be arriving in Nasarad soon. She says maybe they can find out where Vice is while they're there. When they reach Nasarad, Clara gives the girls some gold to help them on their way. She says she's off to find the man she loves, who is also an air pirate. She knows that one day he'll realize how much he loves her.
I knew instantly this was going to be a subplot I didn't like.
Yeah. Clara sails off, and Ika is like, and I quote, "That was the nicest stalker that I've ever met."
That was a good joke.
The girls explore the beautiful city of Nasserad, which, to be clear, is the capital city of Nasir. The place we went before was just some rundown little backwoods town. And eventually they get a room at an inn. Ika says they should find a place to work so they can save up money to buy a small ship and look for Vice. Fina agrees. She looks out the window and wonders if Vice is looking at the same moon right now, which in Skies of Arcadia world is a legitimate question. Back on the deserted island, Vice hunts for food, gathers firewood, all that deserted island stuff that you do at like the beginning of Final Fantasy X and everything. He gathers materials to repair his lifeboat so he can get off the island, but as soon as he finishes up repairs, a ship appears in the distance. Vice waves it down and is welcomed aboard by Gilder, an air pirate and captain of the ship, which is named Claudia. Vice tells Gilder his story, and Gilder eats it up. Gilder says he's all about adventure and women. Vice is like, okay. Gilder says they're headed for Nasserad and lets Vice sail the ship. However, as they approach Nasserad, a crewman reports that a suspicious pink ship is closing in on them. Gilder says it must be, shudder, Clara. He's gotta escape. He says he and Vice are going to take a lifeboat the rest of the way, while the Claudia sails away as a diversion. The scheme works, and soon Vice and Gilder arrive in Nasserad. Gilder goes off on his own to go to taverns and meet women and everything, while Vice gets them a room at the inn. Vice enters the room, then Ika and Fina exit the room next door. They're headed to the tavern, where they've been working as waitresses for the past couple of weeks. At the tavern, they run into Gilder, who flirts at them. Whatever. They get their pay from the owner, and with it they have enough to pay their bill at the inn and buy a boat. Nice. They saved up enough to buy a boat in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty good.
That's honestly, it's a sign that the economy in this game world is more reasonable than that of any economy I've ever lived under.
Yeah.
Or they're just really good bar wenches. They give hella tips.
I mean, maybe. The girls head back to the inn and find an old man collapsed outside. They help him inside and give him some water and stuff, make sure he doesn't die. He introduces himself as Pedro and thanks them for their help. When he realizes they're air pirates, he gives them a map as thanks. He says he and his old buddy Gonzalez once were lucky enough to find Daccat's map. Pedro says Daccat was a great air pirate long ago, and this map is supposed to show how to find the island where he hid all his treasure. When Pedro and Gonzalez found the map, they each took half of it, but they were immediately attacked by black pirates and had to abandon ship. Pedro ended up in Nasserad, but he doesn't know what happened to Gonzalez. Now he's too old to go off looking for treasure, and he thinks Gonzalez would be happy if Ika and Fina found it. I think they're gay because of how Pedro talks about him, and also because Gonzalez had his name embroidered into his shirt. That strikes me as a gay move.
It really does. Also goals. Also just the I feel as the I don't know if I'm the only One Piece fan here, but as a One Piece fan, are we saying that this famous pirate left all his treasure in one place and they just have to find it?
Yes. Yeah. I have read the first few I don't know what you're supposed to call them, books, issues,
volumes.
Yes,
volumes.
The volumes. First few volumes of One Piece, and it was incredible. I just haven't gone back to it yet.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I need to turn you on to something then. Viz Media has a thing. It's no longer $2 a month. I think it's $3 or $4 a month now. But for that, you get to read literally any of their manga, including One Piece. All of it on their website for that price.
That sounds like a good deal.
Yeah,
it's an exceptionally good deal.
Enter code RPG Book Club.
Yeah.
For
I wish we were
$1 off. That would be great, but no.
I think it's specifically a Shonen Jump thing, but it's on the Viz website.
Yeah, I think when the price went up to $3, it included everything Viz, and not just Shonen Jump.
No,
so.
The Viz thing is a separate membership. It's scummier than that.
Yeah, but yeah,
but that way you get Fruits Basket.
Anyway,
back to the game that we're playing.
Yes. Ike is like, fuck yeah, treasure. Let's go get that before we look for Vice. Gilder walks in and greets Ike and Fina in the hallway before entering his room. Inside the room, Vice is looking at the map he found on the island. While he and Gilder are talking, Ike and Fina walk right by in the background.
It rides the line between absolutely ridiculous and very fun, and I think that's what they were going for.
Absolutely. Anyway, Gilder realizes that this is part of Daccat's map and says they have to go looking for the treasure right away. Vice is like, okay, but first, let's go tell the people in charge that Valua is going to come fuck them up, because we learned that in passing.
Mm-hmm.
Vice and Gilder talk their way into an audience with the Sultan, the ruler of Nasir. I hate this portmanteau.
It's both it and the design for this guy are not great.
No. Vice is like, hey, Nasultan, Valua is gonna come fuck you up. The Nasultan's like, nah, sounds fake. Vice is like, no, really. The Nasultan's like, nah, we've got impenetrable defenses, and Valua sucks anyway, and this isn't hubris because we are actually invincible. Gilder tells Vice they might as well leave. Aika and Fina have a boat now. Even though they only have half a map, they manage to find Daccat's island. But there's an impassable door with a red scorpion on it. What will they do? Gilder and Vice head back to their lifeboat. Even though they only have half a map, they manage to find Daccat's island. But there's an impassable door with a blue lizard on it. What will they do? But then, mysteriously, both doors open. Both parties head inside. As we go through the dungeon, we have to switch between the parties on each side of the island. Each party's actions affect the dungeon on the other party's side, and it's pretty funny considering each party doesn't know the other is there, so they're kind of just messing around doing things with no obvious effect, until eventually the path opens for them, seemingly at random.
I hadn't considered that, but that is very funny.
That's so good. I could just imagine, like, Team A is like, all right, turn this lever. All right, I hear something grumbling, but I don't see anything move. And then, like, 30 seconds later, the door opens. They're like, okay, I guess it's just rusty or something. Let's just keep going.
It's a really complex Rube Goldberg machine going on back there in the background, opening that door. But eventually Gilder and Vice find their way into a chamber with an enormous treasure chest in it. But they hear voices behind them. Vice turns and sees his girlfriends. Our heroes are reunited. Ike is like, I was going to come look for you after I got the treasure. And Vice is like, yeah, same. We agree that treasure comes first.
Yes.
See, it's always good to communicate and have the priorities laid out like that.
Yes.
Relationship.
But then a pair of bosses appear, and our heroes fight them, and they win.
Was I just over-leveled, or was that boss, like, absurdly easy?
It wasn't hard for me.
Especially if you think to use the opposite color, like the red on the purple one and purple on the red one. It's just like, it took, I think, maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's not very hard. After the fight, our heroes approach the chest. Gilder opens it dramatically. But all that's in the chest is a piece of paper and a single gold coin. The paper reads, "Brave souls that come seeking my treasure, do not be discouraged. You already have the most valuable treasures in the world. Comrades, trust, and cooperation. Those are the only true treasures in this world. Let's all say it together. The real treasure was the friends we made along the way." Good job.
So you're saying that this super famous pirate left all of his treasure in one place, and it was just one piece of treasure.
I was thinking it would be really funny if they had opened the chest and there was just like a moderate amount of gold in it, just like a kind of decent amount. And I was like, what the fuck? And Gilder was like, well, if you account for inflation.
Yeah.
That would be very funny.
Anyway, Gilder thinks this prank that Daccat has played is hilarious. Fina is just grateful that this adventure brought them back together. Aika's like, well, yeah, but still, infinite wealth would have been fucking nice. It also would have been funny if you found this treasure and then just your gold was maxed out and you don't have to worry about gold for the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, our heroes leave the cave. And now we see Ramirez's flagship, the Monoceros, leading a fleet of ships towards Nasir. Ramirez's vice captain says Nasirad is defenseless, and they can easily take the city without destroying it. Ramirez is like, yeah, but what if we burnt it to the ground instead? Oh no!
Like, we could do this more peacefully, but like, why the fuck would we do that? We're the evil empire.
Exactly.
Can you imagine if there was a scene in New Hope where it was just like, oh, so we could just, send a diplomatic delegation to that place. No, let's blow it up.
Yeah.
We do currently have their princess kidnapped. I'm sure we could have a diplomatic solution here and do an exchange of some sort. But nah, let's just murder billions.
Some crewman walks up and is like, Naboo already surrendered, and Tarkin and Darth Vader just sort of look at each other and shrug, press the button. Anyway, that's all we played for this week.
Awesome. So yeah, let's listen to some music and then we'll talk about our memorable moments.
Oh my god, that just reminded me of something that pissed me off so bad a long time ago.
Oh god, what? Please tell me.
I was at Best Buy, and I saw a Blu-ray set of the original Star Wars trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On the first box was Darth Vader.
Uh-huh.
On the second box was a generic stormtrooper. On the third box was Palpatine. And I was like, no, the first box should be Tarkin. The second box should be Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third box, Palpatine. Tarkin is the villain of the first movie.
Absolutely.
You know what? I would agree with that. That's true.
And then Darth Vader is the villain of the second movie. And then it made me so mad. But you can't not have Darth Vader on the first movie.
Yeah.
He's the character everyone knows. He's got all the brand recognition. Poor Peter
But-
Cushing.
I know. Anyway, let's talk about our memorable moments.
Mm-hmm. I have a couple. So, several of them were already brought up, but one that wasn't, I think, is so good. For this being such an early 3D RPG, they kind of do filmmaking way better than any other RPG I've ever played, like even since almost. And twice this week there was tiny animations that said more than 1,000 words. And the first one was when Drachma yells at everybody to leave or whatever, and they like skedaddle out of the room. Fina stops, turns around, and bows because she's polite more than anything else, and then continues running out, and it's amazing. And the other one, other one, there's kind of like two of them back to back. Is Drachma says something like gruff, and this and he's obviously going through something, and the two characters, it's Vice and one of the girls. I forget which one it is, but they like turn back, look like their faces look like they're about to say something, but they choose not to and turn back forward because they can tell he's going through some shit. And then just a couple seconds later, Vice gets in the airboat, turns around to Drachma, and Drachma just twitches his mustache and pushes him off, and it's so good.
It is.
Like 2 years before that, all we had was Super NES sprites.
I mean,
the blocking,
like, a little more than 2 years, but still.
Yes, but this was pre Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I still need to play 10, but of this era, of games this era, I don't know if I've ever seen a JRPG with this strong blocking, character animation. Like, the scenes tell the story so well, even without the dialogue, but the dialogue also really helps because the dialogue is so good.
Yeah.
Now I want to dig for it. I don't know if I saved it, but there was some really great expressions this particular bit of playthrough. Oh yes, that was it. It was in the scene with the Nasultan, which that's still. There's a bit where it's like Vice's annoyed face, and I just love it. It's so good.
Yes. It's very good. And also we get a bunch of new faces with Gilder. I don't like Gilder yet. Maybe he'll grow on me.
Same here.
I didn't think I'd like Jansen in Lost Odyssey, but guess what? So I'll give Gilder the benefit of the doubt, but like when he opens the treasure chest, we like see the camera's like inside the chest, and he's like, "What?" It has a great face.
Yeah, I'm definitely not super impressed with him thus far. The one thing I will say, I don't know what's saying it in its favor, but I was a little surprised by. In the back of my brain, I was slightly expecting them to do the thing where he's like mechanically identical to Drachma. Like you've lost this party member, we're gonna give you someone else who just fulfills the exact same function.
The Final Fantasy V Gambit.
Final Fantasy V does that.
Legend of Dragoon does that.
Tales of Symphomia does that. You know, it's popular. It's a popular trope, and it's like, no, he's just a completely different character, which makes me go, so we're gonna get Drachma also at some point? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I like the whole. Oh, we have someone with pistols now. Like, that's cool. But yeah, the whole womanizing thing is just kind of like, listen, I love Sanji, but it works for Sanji because he's mostly not sexual about it. It's just like this man is just in love with every woman he meets, which is very different from this guy who is just like, damn, a pirate fuckboy.
Yeah,
that's a guy from One Piece, right? The blonde guy.
Yes. The chef.
Okay.
But yeah, Gilder is not that way because his parrot says, "Oh baby, oh baby."
Yes.
Yeah.
This guy fucks.
This guy fucks.
And then my last one that I have is we talked about in the first episode how this was Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII are both fantastic, but I'm depressed. Let's instead make a game that's about friendship and optimism. And Vice shipwrecks on a desert island that he sees demonstrable proof is deadly. And he could very much die here. And he never once is like, man, this sucks. He's like, well, looks like he lived here for a while, so I guess all I can do is live here for a while. And as you go and you get the sticks and the moonstones, he's like, oh, I'm so lucky that it rained because now I have some moonstones. Oh, I'm so lucky this is a deserted island so that nobody came and took these moonstones from me. I'm so lucky this, lucky that. He is the pluckiest motherfucker in he has proof that he's going to die, basically, and he's like, whatever, I don't give a shit. I'm going to survive this because I have friendship and optimism.
Yep. And he does successfully repair his lifeboat. So
he does.
And they just coincidentally gets picked up before he can even use it.
And he does say, like, why didn't he show up earlier? That would have saved me a lot of trouble.
Oh.
The whole deserted island stuff, it's like, it's fine. I do feel like you have to fight a few too many fights in order to get the monster meat
Oh,
for him to
agreed.
eat. That takes a
15,
while.
like, I eat a lot, and I could not eat 15 entire fish worth of fish fillets for
Yeah.
one meal. That's a lot.
And these are
It
like
is
big critters.
quite
I
a
don't
bit.
know. Maybe they don't have much meat on them.
Maybe a lot of predators, especially, usable meat there's less of that. In general, I think I really felt this was a very fresh segment of gameplay because I was starting to wonder if we were going to get into the same beats over and over again of go to a new
Mhm.
area where it's just kind of a slightly reflavored ethnic group, and they have a place that they're dealing with issues, probably with the Empire. You try to deal with that. You go to the place with the moonstone. Oh no, the giant robot's here. And it's like, no. This time it's just a little side story that's just character development mostly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just character development and a bunch of fun scenes of interesting characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got good stuff with Drachma. We got good stuff with Ike and Fina. We got good stuff with Vice. It was fun.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, last week, we did the second episode of the game where we go to the green town to do the green thing, and then they
Yes.
twist it on the end where it's like, oh, it's not Valua that's going to try and destroy the world with their giant robot. It's the locals are going to try and destroy the world with the giant robot. And it's like, oh, cool. At least they twisted it. So now every time we go and do a new episode, it'll be a twist on it. And then this week we're like, oh no, that twist was to show you that, like, we're not just going to do the same thing every single time. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we even made the joke, like, early on. We're like, oh great, there's 4 crystals that we need, and there happen to be 4 generals in the value army. I guess we know what the next 30 hours are going to be like. And then here we had a big chunk in the middle where that was not the case.
Yeah, it's the game looks like it's going to be very formulaic, very episodic. They do like the they do like the pilot, which
Mm-hmm.
is all the stuff up until you escape Valua. Then they do a very clear first episode of let's go to Nasir, get the thing. Then they do the second episode of let's go to Ixataka, get the thing. But this time there's a, I don't want to say predictable, but if you sat down to write out the story, you would probably come up with the same twist,
Mm-hmm.
just because you want there to be a twist, and that's a pretty easy one to come up with.
Uh-huh.
But I wasn't like, when I was playing the game, I wasn't like, I bet this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, then it's like, well, is there going to be something cool next? Or are we just going to go to the third place? But no, we didn't. And it was cool.
Yeah.
And next week, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but presumably we're going to be dealing with the fact that Value is about to attack Nasarad, which also isn't just going to the third place.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be interesting.
Yeah, and just skimming through the LP archive for the next chunk of things, I don't see a boss fight and giant robot fight. It looks like it will also be weird different stuff. So this game, turns out, is really good, and Bernard has taste.
Yay!
Who'da thunk?
Who would have thunk it? That's what, 2
else?
people on this podcast have taste? Amazing.
Yeah. One of these days I'll develop taste.
No, I'm the one without taste.
It has been demonstrably proven over these last 5 years that it is I, the one who has no taste. But yeah, any other memorable moments before we pack it up?
I remembered actually some of this. Like I remember very little of this game because I played it so long ago, and I only played all the way through it once. but I did remember the fact that Ika and Fina got separated from Vice, and they were like in the same place, but just barely missing each other. I remembered it being a lot more belabored, more like a beginning of Kingdom Hearts when Donald and Goofy are looking for the Keyblade person. More like that. Luckily, it's not like that. There's like 2 things of them barely missing each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was exciting to be like, oh man, I remember this part. I don't remember many other parts.
Well, I hope that continuing parts are just as good as this segment was.
Yes.
I'm super excited for the rest of this game.
But, I am too. It's not delivering what I thought it would, but what it's delivering is extremely delicious.
Yeah, I felt like this would kind of be a like fun but down the middle PlayStation 2 era RPG, like a Arc the Lad, Twilight of the Spirits or whatever, where it's like not bad. It's tasty and tastes like home, but it's not necessarily the best thing in the world. But it's definitely a lot better. Like it's like the perfect version of that. Like it's still the kind of thing that it is still feels like a generic PS2 era RPG, but it's better than every other generic PS2 era RPG, and it's delicious, and I love it.
Yeah, I get that, but it's like maybe you would rate it an 8 out of 10, but it's a really high 8.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of some of the games we play on this podcast are easily 9s or 10s, but this is a high, really high 8.
Yeah,
and I definitely agree with that, and I mean that if I was saying that, I would say it in the nicest way possible. Like, this is just comfy and tasty.
Yeah, it's good. It feels like the same kind of game that Rogue Galaxy was, but it's good, and Rogue Galaxy was decent.
I was glad to hear y'all didn't like Rogue Galaxy, because for a long time I was like, I should play Rogue Galaxy. I bet that game's good, but I heard everything y'all had to say about it, and I was like, I can do without that.
Yeah, Rogue Galaxy would be exponentially better if it had a party chat feature, but it doesn't. And therefore, the best part of it being the characters and not the plot, and you don't get to interact with the characters as soon as they're done serving the plot, makes it kind of middling at best. But if you want to hear more about Rogue Galaxy, go back and listen to that episode, because we're done talking about this episode. If you like what you heard today, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate to help us pay for hosting costs, game costs, and Adobe subscription costs. And in return, you can join one of 3 tiers. The Gadabout tier is everyone who pays $1 or more a month. This will get you access to our Book Club no Kaseki episodes a month before everyone else, and it lets you vote on our polls whenever they go live. The Warrior tier is for everyone who pays $5 or more a month, and they also get their name shouted out at the end of every episode, just like this. Shoutouts to Cerebral Wind, Floris, Kaldron, Freddie Rodriguez, Aaron524, Vimk, Jfro Prime, and Doho. And then finally, we have the Luminary tier, which is for everyone who loves us so much that they pay us $20 or more a month. And they also get a 1-sentence shout out to make me say whatever they want. So shout outs to L. Tantavi, who wants you to check out critical-distance.com, which is an aggregator for games, criticism, and journalism. And then shout outs to William Taylor, who wants you to check out rpgamer.com, a game review website by people like us, for people like us. And then, of course, shout outs to Carr, who is a dentist. So his shout out is not for a Twitch stream, but for your own mouth. And he says to brush your teeth twice a day, most importantly at the time right before you go to bed. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye.